And I want to introduce you to a person who actually was one of the people who ignited my spiritual gifts. When I was in my first or second year of seminary, this person was a person who recognized something in me that I probably, even then, had no real full realization of. Like I said to Nicholas John, Nicholas John, you are an MD psychiatrist. You are going to bring something to the world of medicine that you don't have a clue about yet. Well, I want you to know that Richard Billings ignited that same kind of light in me. Richard Billings is a unique gift in the Unity movement because he personally knew Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. Wow. And there aren't many of those souls left. So David, you want to let Richard come up here? Come up here, Richard. I can't wait y'all. I couldn't have you leave town without seeing me. Richard invited me when I was in school to come to Oak Park, Illinois, where he founded a ministry, which is now one of the beautiful lights in Unity worldwide. And he knew that I was a harpist, and he said, we'll rent a harp from Lyon and Healy in Chicago. And I did. And while I was still in school, I went and I spoke on a Sunday morning and did a workshop that afternoon on the 7 days of creation. Guess what you're now in an intensive where once a month, Richard, you don't even know this, once a month we do Friday night and all day Saturday on 1 day of creation.
Wonderful.
Based on that same grid that I did in that workshop in your church.
A long time ago.
And the other thing that Richard inspired in me was when he told me about how when he went to Oak Park, and sometimes they would go into financial difficulty, and he said, you know, I would sit, they're in an old mansion. It's a beautiful, beautiful old mansion. I would sit at the bottom of the stairs sometimes, and I would just be in the silence all night. And I knew that this beloved soul was teaching me things through his heart and his mind that I was just beginning to grasp. Sit down for a minute and just share a couple of memories of Charles or Myrtle Fillmore.
Well, Myrtle Fillmore was the reason that I really went into Unity, because I had worked after coming out of the Second World War as a high fashion designer and went into a lot of difficulty in my life. And someone gave me the book Healing Letters. And that introduced me to a new way of thinking about myself and how we must at one point or another accept who we are and what we are. And I was finally able to do that. And then I went to Unity School, completed my education there, and was in Santa Monica, California for a while with Sue Sicking.
And Lois Ryan was there.
Yes.
And she's an associate minister here.
Oh, she is. For goodness sake.
Not that she's here today, but she's one of our team.
And then I went to Detroit Unity, where I was there for a while, then East Lansing, and then went and founded the work in Oak Park, Illinois. But the way I was able to do it was just following the fundamental teachings. And Myrtle Fillmore was a very expansive consciousness, just took it all in, and was able to envision and to see in that invisible realm what the potential of what we could bring into being. And so she was, in that sense, my spiritual mentor. And of course, Charles was very different. He was the intellect of unity. Myrtle was the heart. And for a long time, I hid my heart, as many people do, because I didn't want to get hurt anymore. And then Emily Cady says, I neither offend or do I take offense. And I had to really think about that. In my journey, am I really the kind of person that will allow you to be who you are and what you are, knowing there is something inside that is aching to find itself? And so I learned to really be very compassionate with people, loving and hopefully kind. And so we built a wonderful work in Oak Park, which is substantial. It's a great work, and I've been retiring for the last 10 years.
Richard, you're never going to totally retire, you know that. I'm not either.
At nearly
That's a
90
secret,
years
you
of
and I.
age, I have to do it sometime. But I feel like the important thing for us to do is to encourage and to help other people realize what they have to give. And out of our center, we have brought forth 34 ministers. And this girl came up there on her harp. I'll never forget it. The most beautiful experience, one of the most beautiful we've had in the 45 years I've been there. And we were all just, you could feel it. You know how it is. You feel something. It's not something you're just heady about, and it sounds good and all, but your heart just came into it. And that was such a wonderful gift you brought to us. Wonderful. And I just knew here was a light, and you have been. You have been. And that light is in each one of you. Very special. And when you allow that light, don't hide it under a bushel, but when you can allow that light to come forth, that's what you're doing.
So I want every single one of you to really take a moment to feel the vibration of Richard. We've been talking about vibration today.
That's what life is, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it depends on what level we're vibrating and how we communicate one with another. Just coming here, there was a beautiful Japanese woman just ahead of us in first class, and I knew that I knew her. And some lady opening the counter above opened it up, and this heavy thing fell onto my head. And I was stunned for a while. Actually, well, the person felt very bad about it. But this Japanese woman kept watching me. And when I got inside the airport, she came up and she said, "Are you all right?" And I thought, look at that. Has never seen me before, but something in her says, I have concern.
Yeah.
And when we recognize things in each other, we can take it to heart and feel what's going on there, and to help to raise that vibration to a higher potential and bring forth a dramatic change in personality. As Emily Cady said, we move from personality to what? Spirituality, individuality. And so each one of you has that opportunity to open your heart to that beautiful Christ idea. And that's who you are. You're not becoming spiritual, you are. You always were.
Dan?
You were born spiritual. And the problem is we think I have to become spiritual. No, acknowledge who and what you are. And in that acknowledgement, you take on that conscious awareness of, this is what I am. This is what I am. And when we know that, we find our place in the world and become this great light.
So Myrtle Fillmore, I have none. Myrtle Fillmore saw something in Richard Billings. And because she saw it, that in part ignited it,
Yeah.
activated it at
Exactly.
new levels. You will do, Richard saw something in me.
And still do.
You saw it and still do. You continue to ignite it.
And if we can just see that in each other, what a wonderful world it would be, wouldn't it? If everyone we came in contact with, we could see that something within them that is aching to express itself, to give itself. And this is what's so beautiful about unity.
I can't tell you all what a rare and precious gift it is for Richard to be here with us in this moment. There are so few people still walking on the planet that personally knew Charles and Myrtle. And I tell Charles and Myrtle stories
Yeah.
that are only of the oral tradition, much in the way that David tells Muktananda stories. I have the Charles and Myrtle stories. How do you think I learned them? Oral tradition. And Richard was a huge part of that. Joel Bear was another part
Oh,
of that.
yes, Ruth Murphy.
Oral tradition. It gets passed through, or none of it's written down.
No. The Fillmores really wanted that to be a very important issue, that don't come here and worship us. Find the teacher in you, which we awaken, and allow that teacher to develop and bring forth in you what needs to be brought forth. So we are just here to stimulate your thinking and correct the thinking about who you think you are. And it's so great because they were very subtle. They wanted no praise, anything. Myrtle especially. And it was at that time when anything got out of order at Unity, she used to wrap her skirts around her legs and go out to pray. At those times we were Unity Farm. And everyone, whether we worked in silent unity or where we were, would say, Myrtle Fillmore is in prayer. Everything changed. So when people know this is a prayer consciousness, and we're always praying, aren't we?
Yeah.
In one way or another. And when people are affected and move into your vibration, they say, what's going on here? Well, love is going on. And when we feel that, and you know, sometimes like you are here now, sometimes in a week, that's the only time you really are allowed or think you're allowed to really feel and to express that gift in you. Isn't it sad that we live in that kind of a world, that we're so busy getting things and and now it's time to let go.
It's so good to have you here. So if you have time, I'd love to walk through the gardens with you.
Oh, I must.